Azaad Bhaiya was a very tall man. He stood taller than most people in his Bengali neighborhood. His long legs helped him walk fast. On that Tuesday morning, the 8th of July, he left his home for work. The sun was just beginning to warm the streets of Kolkata. Azaad carried his simple lunchbox, packed with love by his sister Aisha. He hummed a soft tune, a song his mother used to sing. He had a kind heart and a simple life. He worked hard at the factory to support his family. His sisters Nadia and Aisha and his younger brother Abudi looked up to him. He was their strength, their big brother. As Azaad walked, he thought about the future. He wanted to see his sisters married into good families. He hoped Abudi would finish his studies and find a good job. These were his simple dreams. He reached the main road, a busy place full of yellow taxis and loud buses. The noise was normal to him. It was the sound of his city. He waited patiently at the crossing, looking left and then right. He saw a gap in the traffic and decided to cross the wide street. He took his first step onto the hot black tar of the road, thinking only of reaching the other side safely. Suddenly, a loud horn blared. It was sharp and frightening. Azaad looked up in surprise. A large truck was speeding directly towards him. It was moving too fast, much faster than the other cars. There was no time to think, no time to run. His long legs, usually so quick, felt heavy like stone. His heart jumped into his throat. The world seemed to slow down for a moment. He saw the grim face of the truck driver, a shadow behind the dusty glass. Then, everything went black. The sound of the impact echoed through the busy street. A terrible final sound. People on the street screamed. They rushed towards the scene. Azaad Bhaiya lay on the road. He was still and broken. His lunchbox had flown open, and the food his sister made was scattered on the ground. The tall man who had walked with such purpose just moments before was now helpless. The truck did not stop. It just sped away, disappearing into the chaotic city traffic. Someone in the crowd was kind enough to call for an ambulance. They knew he was hurt badly. They prayed that he would be all right, not knowing the true nature of the tragedy that had just unfolded. The hospital smelled of medicine and quiet fear. Azaad was in a clean white bed. His eyes were closed. Bandages covered his arms and head, but he was breathing. His younger brother, Abudi, sat on a stool by the bed. He did not say a word. He just stared at Azaad's peaceful face. His sisters Nadia and Aisha stood by the window. They were crying softly. Aisha held Nadia's hand tightly. They could not believe this had happened. Their strong Azaad, their protector, looked so fragile in that big hospital bed. They prayed to God for his recovery. Aisha remembered the morning clearly. She had packed his favorite vegetable curry. She told him to be careful on the roads. He had just smiled and patted her head. Now seeing him like this broke her heart. Nadia thought about all the sacrifices Azaad had made for them. He gave up his own dreams so they could have a better life. He was more than a brother. He was like a father to them. Their real father had passed away many years ago. Azaad had filled that empty space with his love and hard work. The silence in the room was heavy with these sad thoughts. Abudi did not look at his sisters. His eyes were fixed only on Azaad. He was the youngest, and Azaad had always been his hero. Abudi was usually full of life and jokes, but today he was a different person. He was quiet and looked pale. He seemed lost in a world of his own. He slowly reached out and touched Azaad's hand. It was warm. This small sign of life gave the sisters a little hope. They thought maybe, just maybe, he would wake up and smile at them. They waited for hours, watching the slow rise and fall of his chest. Suddenly, a machine next to the bed started beeping loudly. It was a fast, urgent sound. A nurse rushed into the room, her face full of concern. Then a doctor came running. They asked the family to wait outside. Nadia, Aisha and Abudi stood in the corridor, their hearts pounding with fear. The beeping sound stopped. A terrible silence followed. A few minutes later, the doctor came out. His face was sad. He looked at the three siblings and said words that shattered their world. "I am very sorry," he said softly. "Azaad is no more." The family was in shock. How could this be? The crash was bad, but they thought he would survive. He was strong. Aisha started to cry loudly. Nadia held her, trying to be brave, but tears streamed down her own face. Abudi leaned against the wall, his face white like a sheet. He did not cry. He just stared at the floor, his body trembling. The doctor tried to explain. He spoke in a calm voice. He knew the family was in great pain. He wanted them to understand what had truly happened to their beloved brother. The accident was not what killed him. the doctor said gently. The siblings looked up, confused. What did he mean? The truck had hit him. They had all seen his injuries. His injuries from the crash were serious, but they were not fatal, the doctor continued. We did some blood tests when he arrived. We found something else, something unexpected. He paused, letting his words sink in. Nadia wiped her tears and asked, "What was it, doctor? Please tell us." She needed to know. She needed an answer to this terrible mystery. Azaad had a very severe case of malaria, the doctor revealed. It was already in an advanced stage. His organs were failing. The shock from the accident made his condition much worse. His body was too weak to fight. He died from complications of malaria, not from the crash. The news was like a second blow. Malaria? How was that possible? Azaad never complained of being sick. He was always so full of energy. He never showed any weakness. He had hidden his illness from them to avoid worrying them. This revelation changed everything. Their grief was now mixed with confusion and a deep sense of guilt. Why didn't they notice? Why didn't he tell them he was feeling unwell? They had been living with him, seeing him every day, but they had not seen his suffering. He had carried this secret sickness inside him, just as he carried all the family's burdens. He was protecting them even in his illness. The thought made their hearts ache even more. Their tall, strong Azaad was defeated by an enemy they could not even see. Because the crash was a hit and run, the police started an investigation. 2 detectives came to the family's small home. They were respectful and kind. They asked questions about Azaad. Who were his friends? Did he have any enemies? Nadia and Aisha answered as best they could through their tears. They said Azaad was a simple man. He had no enemies. Everyone loved him. He was friendly to all. The detectives listened patiently, writing everything down in their small notebooks. They wanted to find the person who was driving that truck. The detectives then turned to Aboudi. He had been silent the whole time, sitting in a corner of the room. "Aboudi, where were you on the morning of the accident?" one detective asked. Aboudi looked up. His eyes were empty. He did not answer right away. He just stared at the detective. Nadia put a protective arm on his shoulder. "He was at home," she said. He was very shocked when he heard the news. But the detective kept his eyes on Aboudi. He saw something in the young man's face. It was not just grief. It was fear. "I need to tell you something," Aboudi finally whispered. His voice was shaking. Aisha and Nadia looked at him, surprised. The room became very quiet. The only sound was the slow turning of the ceiling fan. Aboudi took a deep breath. "It was me," he said, the words coming out in a rush. "I was the one driving the truck." The sisters gasped. It was impossible. It could not be true. "What are you saying, Aboudi?" Nadia cried. "This is no time for such a terrible joke." But Aboudi was not joking. Tears finally started to fall from his eyes. He confessed everything. He had created a fake online account. He pretended to be a girl who was in love with Azaad. He wanted to trick Azaad and take his money. The plan went wrong. He only meant to scare him with the truck, to make the accident look real, so he could take the money while Azaad was in the hospital. He never knew Azaad was sick with malaria. He never wanted him to die. As he spoke, the terrible truth filled the small room. Nadia and Aisha looked at their younger brother not with anger, but with a deep, heartbreaking sorrow. Their family was broken, shattered by a secret far darker than any illness.